Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Again, continue clear your doubts about Islam. We reached the point, how do you know there is life after death? Actually, we live in a world that demands logic and proof and is not content with only belief. Someone might wonder how a rational, practical, minded person could believe in life after death. And people tend to assume that everyone who believes in the hereafter does not or does so on the basis of blind faith. But in fact, belief in hereafter is completely logical, and it is the only way the injustices of this world could be reconciled with a just and all-powerful creator. Again, in fact, belief in the hereafter is completely logical, and it is the only way the injustices of this world can be reconciled with justice and with a just, all-powerful creator. We know that in addition to physical pleasures and comforts, that are certain ideal conditions that human beings instinctively desire and strive to attain, such as love, respect, security, contentment. Though many people are able to acquire a portion of these objectives here on earth, there remain one that is largely unobtainable, and that is justice. Many can obtain in this life, in addition to physical pleasures and comforts, there are certain ideal conditions that human beings instinctively desire and strive to obtain, such as love, respect, security, contentment. Though many people are able to acquire a portion and not all of these objectives here on earth, yet remains one that is largely unobtainable, which is justice. Most people hold the conviction that life is not fair, that they have often been misunderstood or not appreciated, that in some way they have been harmed, cheated, or oppressed. Daily newscasts disclose the killing, torture, displacement, and starvation of countless innocent people by powerful tyrants and nations. Lives ruined by the various lives ruined by the vicious or careless acts of others, or by natural disasters, and the poor, helpless being subjected to thefts and deception. Seldom is even partial justice ever restored. Yet every human being desires justice, even if he does not seek it for others. He certainly wants justice for himself. And so, why has the Creator instilled in man a longing for something he cannot experience in this world? The answer is that this life is only one portion of his existence, and that the logical conclusion which restores the equilibrium found in all creation is in the hereafter. It is there that every person will be fully, precisely compensated for this, for his good or evil deeds. This is the perfect and the absolute justice which God has promised all people again and again. So why has the Creator instilled in man, why he instilled in him a longing for something he cannot experience in this world? The answer is that this life is only one portion of man's existence, and that the logical conclusion which restores the equilibrium found in all creation is in hereafter. In the hereafter, it is there that every person will be fully and precisely compensated for his good or his evil deeds. And this is the perfect, absolute justice which God subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Exalted, has promised to all people. The present life is a trial. Is a trial in preparation for the next realm of existence. The explanation given by the Quran about the necessity of life after death is what the moral consciousness of man demands. And if there was no life after death, the belief in God would be meaningless, or it would be a belief in some kind of indifferent and negligent deity, who, after having created the human race, is no longer concerned with his welfare. See? And certainly God is just. He will indeed punish the tyrants who have killed thousands and caused sufferings to their families, corrupted institutions and societies, enslaved people and nations, robbed, deprived, and plundered. And what about I, who patiently endured so much injustice and hardship, suffered to uphold truth, saved lives, or sacrificed in order to assist many people? What earthly compensation could possibly restore the balance for them? This can only take place in the eternal life, where every individual affected in the least by someone's action will testify for or against him. Again, this can only taken, these rights, these compensations can only be taken in an eternal life, where every individual affected in the least by someone's actions will testify for or against him, and where the innermost thoughts and intentions known completely to God subhanahu wa ta'ala, and will be judged precisely and perfectly. Since man's term of life in this world is limited, and because numerous individuals are affected by one's action, adequate rewards and punishments are impossible in the present life. The Quran states categorizing that the day of resurrection must come, and that God will then decree the fate of each soul according to its record of deeds. Additionally, God subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated in the Quran that the present creation is in itself a clear proof that He is able to create and recreate as He wills. Whatever He wills, however He wills, and whenever He wills. For God originates and repeats creation with equal ease. Consider these words revealed to His final prophet. In chapter 29 verse 20, Surah Al-Ankabut, Allah is saying, قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانظُرُوا كَيْفَ بَدَأَ الْخَلْقِ ثُمَّ اللَّهُ يُنْشِئُ النَّشْأَةَ الْآخِرَةَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, travel through the land and observe how He began creation, and then Allah will produce the final creation. In Surah Al-Ankabut, chapter 29, verse 20. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in chapter 50, Surah Qaf, verse 15, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, أَفَعَيِينَا بِالْخَلْقِ الْأَوَّلِ بَلْ هُمْ فِي لَبْسٍ مِّنْ خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ. Allah is saying, did we fail in the first creation? But actually they are in confusion over new creation. And also in chapter 36, and also in chapter 36 in Surah Yasin, verse 81, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, أَوَلَيْسَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's saying, is not He who created the heavens and earth able to create the likes of them? Yes, surely. And He is the knowing creator. Surah Yasin 39, 36, verse 81. And many other verses like that. Let us try to analyze them to finish this point. In chapter 46, Surah Al-Ahqaf, verse 33, Allah is saying, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَلَمْ يَعْيَ بِخَلْقِهِنَّ بِقَادِرٍ عَلَى أَنْ يُحْيِيَ الْمَوْتَى بَلَى إِنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, do they not see that Allah who created the heavens and the earth and did not fail in their creation is able to give life to the dead? Surely He is able subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again in chapter 19, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Maryam, verse 67, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, أَوَلَا يَذْكُرُ الْإِنسَانُ أَنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَلَمْ يَكُ شَيْئًا. Did or does man not remember that we created him before while he was nothing? And again in chapter 56, in chapter 56, verse 62. Verse 62, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in chapter 56, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in chapter 56, verse 62, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ النَّشْأَةَ الْأُولَى فَلَوْلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. And you already known the first creation, so will you not remember? And again in chapter 29, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in Surah Al-Ankabut 19, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أولم يروا كيف يبدئ الله الخلق ثم يعيده إن ذلك على الله يسير. Have they not considered how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins creation and then repeats it? Indeed, that for Allah is easy. And again in chapter 30, verse 27, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying وهو الذي يبدئ الخلق ثم يعيده وهو أهون عليه وله المثل الأعلى في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, and it is He who begins creation, then He repeats it, and that is easier for Him. Chapter 30, verse 27, and again in chapter 21, Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 104, يوم نطوي السماء كطي السجل للكتب كما بدأنا أول خلق نعيده وعدا علينا إن كنا فاعلين. Allah is saying, as we begin the first creation, we will repeat it. That is a promise binding upon us. Indeed, we will do it. In chapter 21, verse 104, and in fact, the material of creation is already in existence, merely to be developed once again at His command subhanahu wa ta'ala. Observable evidence of this ongoing process is now being presented regularly by astronomers and specialists in other fields of modern science. We will stop here to continue next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.